So hello everyone, welcome to our session this evening. We are going to be talking a little bit more about thinking beyond CSUSM, and the hope and thought process is to support our students in getting connected to some of the high impact practices that our campus partners are going to share a little bit more about this evening. So all of you have been to our webinars in the past, but this is a good opportunity for a refresher. If you haven't, please go ahead and rename yourself. You'll see on the participants tab at the bottom of your screen. You can hover over that more and see the rename. Go ahead and rename yourself with your name and then your student's name in parentheses thereafter, although I recognize all of your names, so it's easy for me to get you checked in. But if you have any questions or need support this evening, please feel free to write in the chat as we kind of go along with presenters, and then we'll open up for questions after each of the presenters chats as well. Tonight's presentation, as I mentioned, we will be talking with our study abroad, career services, internships, and service learning folks from around campus. If you want to go ahead and write in the chat your name, your student's name, and the year that they are at CSUSM, that will be helpful for our presenters to get a feel for what year our students are and kind of shaping and framing their conversation for this evening. So if you at least minimally want to share what year they are in school at Cal State San Marcos, that will be helpful context clues for our presentation this evening. As always with our Zoom, you can see at the bottom there, the participants tab is how you would select and opt into changing your name, and then the reactions for if you needed to request to unmute or raise your hand or share a reaction of some sort, applaud or anything of that sort. That would be really helpful. And I believe you all support first year students, but I don't want to make that assumption. So feel free to add that in here, and we will go from there. So before I jump in and get started, I'm going to go ahead and stop my screen share and let my other presenters introduce themselves. So we'll start off with Tiffany, who's here representing our study abroad area.
I am Tiffany Gabbard. I've been with CSUSM now going on almost 13 years. So I am the Assistant Director of Study Abroad. So I get the pleasure of sending our wonderful students somewhere on a study adventure. And it doesn't always have to be studied. Some of our students do service learning and internships abroad as well. So there's lots of unique opportunities that we have for them. So I'm excited to share those with you.
Awesome. And we have Josh that's also here from our Career Center on campus.
Good evening, families of CSUSM. My name is Joshua Ngaliai. I'm from the Career Center. I'm one of 5 career counselors and look forward to sharing information with you all today.
Fantastic. And also housed underneath our Career Center, but representing internships this evening is Elvia.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Elvia Cetano. I'm the coordinator for the internships program here at CSUSM, and I work with students to help them identify opportunities as they're going out and using everything that they're learning in their classroom and applying it to the real world. And so glad that you can join us today.
Fantastic. So again, if you all have any questions throughout or having issues with technology that you need support, feel free to write it in the chat. You can also write any questions that you might have for our presenters in the chat, and we'll kind of catch them as they go along. Tiffany, if you want to go ahead and pull up your slides, you can go ahead and jump right on in.
All right. All right, let's pray for a miracle here that I do this right. All right. Great. Hopefully I grabbed everything, and hopefully you can see this, everybody. You can see it? All right, good. All right, so here we go. And I will say that my presentation's about 30 minutes, give or take. I know you're gonna have questions and I go into a lot of detail, so I sort of apologize in advance, but I'm a believer in giving lots of good options. So just putting that out there. So first of all, there's lots of different ways for you to study abroad, and I wanted to share what our students have to say about that. So let's hope that this video launches. Maybe. All right.
I studied abroad in Ecuador for a semester exchange program.
In London for 1 year with CSUIP.
I studied in Finland history for a school year.
In Malta for 3 weeks.
in Valladolid, Spain, through the exchange program.
South Korea for a year and a half.
In Sweden, and the university that I went to was Uppsala University, and I went for a year through CSUIP.
Studying abroad is a great way to step outside your comfort zone and learn about other cultures.
Great opportunity for networking, great opportunity for traveling, and overall an amazing experience.
Because I went for 1 year, I was able to spend time doing things that I was interested in. So I was able to find internships and volunteer opportunities at different organizations.
I was able to complete my HD 495 field experience in human development. I took a variety of business classes while I was in Korea, which really helped me learn a lot about how business is done in Korean culture.
My favorite part of studying abroad was making friendships that last a lifetime. And not only that, but I got to travel around while I studied abroad, and I met many people from different cultures, not just the country that I was living in.
The best thing about studying abroad is embracing the culture. And the best thing that happened to me was I met my wife there.
I was able to transfer all my financial aid with me, so my grants, scholarships, and loans made my experience abroad much more affordable.
You can study for as long as 2 weeks or for a full academic year. You can take classes in your major, your minor, and your general ed courses.
Great. I think they said it all, right? I'm done, right? I'm done with my presentation. No, I'm really proud of our students. I love working with them, and I'm proud of the diverse places that they've gotten to explore. So what we're going to do is kind of this overview of our programming. So I'm going to start kind of from the shorter term programs and kind of work up in terms of duration and explain the differences in terms of programming. So that way you can make an informed decision of what might be a good choice for your students. So first of all, we're going to talk about our short-term programs, and these are the fun ones for me. And oops, sorry. Oh, I've got trigger happy over here. The fun ones for me in the sense that I get to work with our wonderful faculty members, and I'm able to build a program to their liking and to their specifications for our students. So these programs tend to be in some of the best times of year to travel. So either in January term, winter intersession, or in our summer terms. So typically they're short-term programs, so they're 2 to 4 weeks. And they really do offer a unique insight into a specific discipline of study based on whatever that faculty member is teaching at the time. So the locations do vary by faculty interest. So obviously a Spanish professor is typically going to the Spanish speaking world and teaching, and vice versa. So things that are going to be of interest to our students and to our faculty. So the unique thing about these particular programs is that a lot of you have students that are freshmen, which is fantastic because they are actually eligible for study abroad in the summer following their freshman year. So they could potentially actually study abroad in the coming summer. Well, of course, we're in COVID time, so maybe not right this minute, but they can certainly study abroad sooner than later, which is great news. So in terms of GPA, most of our programs, as you'll hear over and again, will be at a 2.75 GPA, although there is some flexibility in these as well. I do have the caveat that possibly these can be a less affordable option for our students in the sense that they are short term, and as a result, financial aid is typically not widely available for those short-term programs. So for January, they could borrow against their spring financial aid, and for summer, they're usually on their own in terms of financing it. So that's one thing that can be a bit of a drawback. But with that said, what is a unique benefit with these programs is the ability to travel with a faculty member and in a small group of CSUSM students that have really, will give them unique insights into a new location and maybe people that they maybe would have never crossed paths with in their own academic career. So there are lots of different programs I want to share with you, but the one thing I would say is our programs are very different and very unique, like I said, based on faculty interests. So one that I like to highlight a lot is the January in Guatemala program. This program has been around about 6 years under the leadership of Dr. Michael Hughes in Modern Languages. So it is a Spanish language program, and intensive Spanish will be taught. However, there are also some some unique kind of anthropology courses that they could take as well. But what's unique about this particular program is that it offers actually the ability to integrate into the Maya community. So you can actually live and learn with the Maya community there in the Guatemalan highlands. So it's a pretty unique experience to have that insider view of a culture that would be largely out of our reach, even as, you know, an American tourist. So it's a pretty special program. The students are very much, you know, transformed by, you know, how people live and think in other worlds. That's the whole benefit of studying abroad. But other different programs that we have are January in Amsterdam and Paris. This is either a sociology or psychology program, ideally for students that are probably in their third year, because it does satisfy upper division general education units. We also have a January in Rome program that's highly popular. Get some new walking shoes ready for that one. That faculty member will walk your shoes off out of commission. So that's a unique program that actually satisfies upper division general education, 2 different classes. So it's worth 6 units. And we also have our highly popular Summer in Spain program. It's our longest running program. It's been around about 25 years now. So it's a unique opportunity to live in a homestay family in Valladolid, Spain, and actually learn a whole semester's worth of Spanish in 4 weeks time, field trips on the weekends, and just a whole lot of fun engaging with the culture. So there are a lot of different programs. These are just highlights. I'd encourage you to get over to our website, which is csusm.edu/global. And the nice thing is that you can't possibly get lost once you actually get over here and click under the study abroad program, because it's all, these links are fun, one after another. So, and the study abroad programs page is just one long scrolling page of opportunities for you. So we probably get really tired scrolling because there's a lot of options there. So as I mentioned, we're not running these programs currently, but we will be resuming in January of 2022. So certainly something to look forward to in the future for your students. So like I said, all of the program pages are pretty self-explanatory. I'll just click on one for sake of example. But the page should be set up really across the board for any of my programs about the same. So that way you have a really good overview of what the program's about, an overview of what the course offering will be, any sort of highlights, unique highlights of the program, what the students will earn in terms of credits, and where they're going to be staying in terms of housing, overall cost and what it includes, and then basically how you apply. So all of the faculty-led programs will be something that have their own information sessions. And of course, students can reach out to me with questions about these programs as well. But for first-time travelers, these are amazing options because they really give you that kind of peace of mind in terms of you know, knowing that you're with somebody who knows the territory and is going to show your student a really nice experience. Okay. Is there any quick questions? I see it's something in the chat. Nothing. Oh, thank you, Christiana, for putting our website.
Yeah.
You're so good. Appreciate it. I'd like you to all of my presentations, please. All right. And close that out. So transitioning now to our general study abroad program for CSUSM students. These are our exchange programs. Now, these are a little different than what we talked about before in that these are only available for students at the upper division level, meaning once your student has 60 units or more, they're able to go on these programs. The benefit of these programs is that you're able to study at one of our partner institutions around the world. We have about 14 different countries that we are representing. And you're basically able to pay CSUSM tuition and fees here with us, but you're able to go take a space at a partner university abroad. So it tends to be one of the most affordable ways to get an overseas education. 2.75 GPA again, and really, I would say the vast majority of our programming is in English, even in places that you may not think are English speaking, like maybe Hong Kong, for example, where you can actually go and take classes with international students as well as local students from that country abroad. So it does tend to be, I think, a win-win because you're going to have a real international experience, earn CSU resident credit, use all of your financial aid to go with you, and be able to, you know, make some real serious degree progress. So 2 deadlines a year for these. October 1st coming up for our spring term. Spring 2022 is what we would be looking for recruiting now. Next, we're going to talk about the CSU international programs. These are my favorite programs to talk about in the sense that they really do offer the deepest immersion experience, I think, for our students, in that many of the programs are a full academic year in length. They have transitioned slightly to allow some semesterized programs due to the pandemic. They've changed things a little bit, but most programs are still academic year. So it's one of those things that I think it's a little tricky, because a lot of our students don't think they're ready for a year, but it's so transformative if they can actually do a year abroad, because it would be really to their benefit in terms of academic progress. You're going to be taking a minimum of 15 semester units each term. So conceivably, if they're at an upper division level, they could conceivably almost finish their degree in a year abroad, coursework wise. So it's one of those things that they're going to gain new cultural, relevance and language skills potentially, and really be able to attend some of the most prestigious university partners. Another unique feature of these programs is that this is the system-wide program for all 23 CSUs. So perhaps your student might have a friend at San Diego State and they wanted to study abroad together. Well, they can absolutely do that through the CSU International program. So definitely they have an opportunity to apply and to actually go on their program together. GPA wise, most programs are 2.5 and above. Some programs are a little bit higher, can be as high as a 3.3. That's the Germany honors business program, but a lot of them are right at the 2.5 level. So making access really available. Usually one deadline a year, February 1st for these programs. They have shifted to a bit more of a rolling application system. So it's one of those things that you could certainly look back and apply a little bit later than that as well. So I just want to quickly show you their program page. So their main page has lots of unique features on here that you might be interested in. They do have their own virtual office that you can go and explore some resources, and they do hold different virtual advising sessions. So even, your student or you as a parent can actually go in there and meet with an advisor and learn more about these programs as well. Usually on Fridays, they have their alumni ambassadors take over, and they actually have students share their experiences. So it's a great opportunity if you want student peer-to-peer sharing. I think that's a great option as well. On their program page, it gives you an overview of the different programs they offer. And their programs are nice and easy to navigate in terms of, clicking through. Hopefully you can see that through my screen. I have the slowest web browser known to man, but they have all sorts of different options here along the top and lots of embedded information. So just make sure that you're scrolling along the top and you'll get all of the information that you need. The one thing I would say is they do have a wonderful advanced search feature, so it can really narrow things down for you, because you might be thinking, okay, well, where can I actually study abroad as a sophomore? And I only speak English right now, right? And I am a business major. I had to choose something at the beginning of the alphabet because I'm forced with this mouse that's so slow, so excuse me for that. So as a business major, as a sophomore, I have a lot of options. I have a lot of options in Australia, France, Germany, Ghana, Israel, Mexico, South Africa, Taiwan, and UK. So lots of different options, and you can click on any of those pages and learn more. So it really is a really fantastic program that you can start exploring and seeing if that might be a good opportunity for your student. The one thing I would say, my favorite of these particular programs are the Learn Language programs. They really will basically gain fluency in a language because it's an intensive language study, and you're really going to walk away with not only the fluency in a language, but quite possibly a second major in the language after the program. So I really encourage students, especially entering their sophomore year, hey, take a look at these programs, because they can really be a huge benefit to actually get ahead, with your degree, or possibly add a major that maybe you hadn't thought about before. All right. Moving along. So last but not least, through the school, this is a big one, is International Student Exchange Program. Why is it a big one? It is over 50 countries and over 283 institutions worldwide, and you can study with ISEP through summer, semester, or an academic year. They definitely have programs for sophomores as well, all the way through graduate students. So if you can't find anything through exchange, faculty-led, or CSU international programs, certainly you can find quite a bit through ISEP, almost an overwhelming array of options, actually. So the one unique feature of ISEP that's a little different than my exchange programs is that you actually pay a fixed budget for any ISEP program in the world. And the concept is, if you can afford tuition, housing, and meals at your home university, you should be able to study abroad and go anywhere in the world. So that student would pay $14,000 basically at CSUSM, and basically could go to Botswana, to Chile, to Australia, to Japan. Any of those locations would be the same cost. And in return, we would be able to host a student from any of the ISEP member institutions here at CSUSM. So it's a really interesting option for access across their member institutions. So I really enjoy working with ISEP because it really increases our diversity here when we receive their students, and it increases those universities' diversity in receiving our students. So it's a win-win all around. And I know you're scared about that $14,000 budget. I would be too, but it is a complete budget. So it's tuition, housing, meals, airfare, health insurance, books and supplies, spending money, and probably something else I'm forgetting. But more or less, it really is a comprehensive budget for a semester abroad. For a year abroad, double that. And summer programs tend to be between, I don't know, 3,000 and 4,000 usually for 4 to 6 weeks typically. So ISEP's right in line with all of our own budgets as well. So,
Tiffany,
yes, I'm sorry.
We have a couple questions in the
I'm
chat.
sorry. Yeah,
I'll pause real quick.
absolutely.
So one came as a direct message to me, and they're trying to understand specifically. I know you showed a little bit on the CSU international website about how you find a specific major and the options for there. She's specifically asking about her student as a communication major, if there's other programs that are offered as well specific to communication.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'd encourage you, this family member can email me as well. That might be a good question to email me at studyabroad@csusm.edu. If you have a specific question, I'm happy to answer you because sometimes that's easier. But COM is a fantastic major to do abroad for a few different reasons. But one of the main is that COM has at least 12 units of upper division electives in the major. And they also have at least 3 social science classes, DD classes that you can take. So it's a fantastic flexible major for overseas. So there's a number of really great locations. My favorite would probably still be Australia. Their communication labs are unbelievable in terms of the things that you can do and create and experience. They will take a pretty heavy knowledge base though. So I think, I encourage a student to go abroad earlier in some cases for a program like that, because, you can't, like for me, I can't expect to, be a great videographer if I've never used a video camera. So, you'd have to actually go and learn how to actually record a video and do editing and things like that. So you can learn from the basics up to really advanced things. But Australia is just one of many, many locations that students can go for COM for sure.
And then one other question specific to ISEP, the slide you're on now.
Yeah.
Do the students live in the on-campus housing, or do they live with a host family?
Really good. Man, these are good questions. I'm going to get to a lot of these things later on, but I want to show you the ISEP website as I answer you, if that's okay, because it'll basically answer itself, hopefully. So I'm going to use that wonderful example since I had someone asking about COM. I'm just going to start a search. This is the ISEP website. And by the way, it is gorgeous. I have envy every day when I look at it because I wish I had beautiful things, but I don't. But it's quite overwhelming. In fact, I just did this slide a couple of days ago, our PowerPoint. I updated my PowerPoint and we have 5 more partners since I just updated the PowerPoint. So that's ISEP for you. They have a lot of change and excitement, right? So let's say I want to go abroad for spring of 2022. And let's say I'm interested in, I'm interested in Latin America. I don't have a specific country in mind, but I am a COM major. Oh dear. I can type. I'm actually a really good typist, just not right now. And rats, I want to go to Latin America, but I only speak English. And I also am a sophomore, right? I'll be a sophomore when I want to go abroad. I'm going to choose the exchange option, knowing that that's going to be the fixed rate program. And I'm just going to apply filters and see if we get anything, right? So believe it or not, wow, I want to go to Latin America, which is not largely English speaking, but I can actually go as a comm major to Latin America, to Argentina, Bolivia, several different universities in Mexico. So I have a few options for myself. So I'm just going to click on the first one just for fun and show you a page. But ISEP is just a lot of really good information. It's a great resource I steal from all the time from my own programming. I wanted to wait for that to load because I think it's such a cool picture. So anyway, they have all sorts of links over here to that particular school's social media. It has their different calendaring. It'll have some embedded media for you to check out, as well as an ISEP contact that you can get in more information from. But the second page is really what's a bit more helpful, I think, as you start digging around and starting to learn more about the program. So ISEP does have an application fee. It's a little different than our exchanges and our CSUIP that do not. So there's a $100 application fee. And once you are placed, you have an acceptance fee of that $395. So ISEP, you have to really think about and consider and make sure that it's a good option for you. But with that said, one application is good for up to 10 schools that you can list and rank order in your order of preference. So it really gives our students some tremendous options. They just have to take the time and explore through this page that they're choosing a good program fit for them, that they're looking at classes, that they're going to be choosing an environment that's going to be a comfortable living environment for them, all of that. So that's super duper important. So as I scroll down, there's different links to courses where they can start digging around and looking for that. And if I said in my search, I don't speak Spanish, but maybe I want to learn it, I want to probably stick to this one that's subjects taught in English, and I can click that link and get the overview of programming. And then as I scroll down, I promise I'm getting to your question, it'll give you an overview of where you're going to be housed. And this really varies by partner. And this is a really good example of something that's different. I would say 80% of ISEP programming is in university dormitories, right? But there is a few programs out there, especially in Latin America and possibly Asia, that will have host family options as well, which is pretty unique, especially if you're going to take Spanish along the side of taking comm, for example. So it really gives you a nice host family integration. So ISEP includes host family, meals, and then they have all sorts of different things that students can add on. They have excursions built into this particular program, and they have free airport pickup service. So these different, I call them perks or highlights, vary by institution. So it's again one of those things you want to shop around for and choosing the best program for you. So housing does vary, but largely it'll be dorms. So that's a little bit about the ISEP website. I know in terms of my timing, I just need to move along a little bit if I can. Christiana, do I have any more questions that I need to answer right now?
The question was about host families and how do they get chosen or like vetted?
Oh, really good question. A lot of different ways, but usually our students will fill out a host family application where they'll be asked their different preferences. So they'll ask silly things like, are you a night person? Are you a morning person? Do you have, meal preferences? Do you have any, dietary restrictions? Are you a light sleeper? Do you prefer smoking or non-smoking facilities? Do you like pets? I mean, really, it's a million and one questions, it seems like. So they try really hard to place our students in the most comfortable environment possible. Any other questions?
No, that's all for now.
Okay, thank you. All right. Well, last but not least, if you can't find everything through the school that we've talked about, certainly we do work with what are called outside program providers. These are businesses for study abroad. There's a gazillion of them through a site like goabroad.com that you can start exploring. I will say there are some limitations with outside programs, one being financial aid. Because these programs are outside the school, they earn transfer credit versus resident credit, which doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things in terms of degree progress. It just matters in terms of financial aid, in that outside programs means you can only take your loans, your Pell Grant, your Cal Grant, but not your state university grant. Why? Because you're not actually enrolled at CSU, you're enrolled at this foreign institution for that term abroad. So it's one of those things, some students won't even have a state university grant, so this is a moot point where they could actually go through a program provider and find a unique experience for them. I think that this is a good point to bring for a lot of students that have, like my search was for that comp student that only speaks English but wants to study abroad in a Spanish speaking environment. I send a ton of students that just want to go abroad in a Spanish speaking world, study a little bit of Spanish, but study in English in their major. And outside programs really do fill that gap in our curriculum. So they're a great option for our students as well. Oh, great. I've lost my mouse. Oh, thank goodness. Phew. All right, so wrapping things up here, questions I hear all the time, is it hard to apply? It's not hard to apply, you just have to plan ahead and realize that anything that's worth it will take a little bit of time and commitment. So definitely there are application materials, and just when you're done with them, you'll have a second wave of application materials. But the great news is that I would say a ton of people get into our programs. It's not going to be something that you can't do. And most things have transitioned online now, so that makes it really easy. And in terms of degree progress, I mean, I'm not in travel abroad, I'm not in party abroad, I'm in study abroad. So credits matter to me. It's what's most important to me. And I know that sounds bad, but I've done this forever, and I've done, 2 or 3 study abroads myself. So it's one of those things that it's all about the experience, but the experience is also having a common academics, setting for our students. So that's really going to be important in taking classes that you could maybe never find at CSUSM. So that's a pretty a special quality. So how did credits transfer? We work through a process called the credit approval form, where we work with our students will work with our faculty advisor in their major or their minor to get credits to transfer back here for degree progress. So it's really important that students know how to use their degree planner, know how to use their academic requirements report, how to use their student center, so they are tracking their degree progress, maybe meeting periodically with their academic advisors, and making sure that they're doing everything they need to so that they can plan properly for the study abroad experience and kind of route out the classes that are going to be best served for them. And then once they're ready, they can meet with a faculty member in their discipline so that they can actually clear these credits for how they can transfer back to CSUSM. So a lot of flexibility with that. And that's the beauty of study abroad. You can find classes that you may never find here at CSUSM, right? So how will I pay for all this? This is the question you wanted me to start with. I know, families, right? Definitely, like I said, our programs that are run through the school that earn CSU resident credit, all of your financial aid goes with you, loans, grants, scholarships, it all transfers to the study abroad experience, which is fantastic news. But on top of that, there are scholarships that your students can certainly win to really help defray those costs. And the big one here is that I like to highlight is the Gilman Award, which is for students that receive the Pell Grant and are US citizens. So if you meet those 2 requirements, you can absolutely apply for the Gilman Scholarship and win up to $5,000 for your study abroad program, which is huge. Like I think about the language and culture program in Valladolid, it's $9,800. That's half of the program cost that you could conceivably win through one scholarship. That's incredible. And a scholarship would reduce your indebtedness. So, you're still getting your financial aid from CSUSM, but hopefully you wouldn't have to take out that loan perhaps if you win a scholarship. Aside from that, there is the general scholarship for CSUSM that's due every year. You can apply, it's about 36 different campus scholarships. If you win one, you can apply those monies towards study abroad. Those Wick and Zomalt are internal scholarships for us from our wonderful donors that have been affiliated with our office. So that one is a $500 or $1,000 scholarship. So think towards, airfare or maybe a visa fee. They'll help with that. But there's lots of different, scholarships out there. I'd really encourage you to get onto my financial aid page from my website, and you can take a look at tons of different scholarships as well. So key for scholarships is to plan early and plan to write a nice essay that really shows who you are and what you're hoping to do and why you're a good candidate for the money, right? So looking ahead, knowing that most scholarships are going to be due in March if you want to go in fall, and October if you want to go in spring. Okay. Where am I going to stay? We've already answered this question. I would say the bulk of our programs really do live with residence halls, and usually it's an international kind of experience, meaning that if I go to England, I might be placed in an international dormitory where I'll have a private room, but I'll be with people from all over the world, not just UK students. So sometimes it's with a homestay family, and sometimes it's a student apartment that's university owned. So all of those options are sometimes in play with our partners. lastly, why should I do this? I cannot think of enough reasons why you shouldn't do it, right? You're going to regret if you do not do this. I tell our students all the time, for me, I studied abroad in Italy and England, but for me, it was really a healing time in my life. I'd lost my mom the year before, so I went abroad to really prove to myself that I could stand on my own 2 feet and do something for myself that I've dreamed of my whole life. So it was one of those times for me of a sense of my own possibility, of who I was, a purpose, of self-awareness, of independence, growth, learning to be adaptable, to be strong, meet new people. So, I mean, that's everything that our students are going to want in their own experiences as well. And of course, travel and meeting people that are going to transform you in good ways. So you never know, the people you meet and how your paths are going to cross and change things. So some really unique opportunities, I think, that are out there for you. All right. So next steps really is, if you're interested in pursuing this, I'd really encourage you to sit down with your students and really think about what you're looking for in an experience and thinking about what is possible, right? Some students are going to know that they don't want to do something in a developing country. Maybe they want to study in Spain, but they want to study in English. Maybe they want to learn another language and really just go full force into that. There's all sorts of different types of programs for different types of people. Good starting point is just thinking about who you are. Am I a big city person, a small city person? Finding a good fit that's going to be a comfortable living environment for the next, 4 weeks to 10 months, right? So you want to be in a place that's going to be a comfortable spot for you to explore. Beyond that, you got to really sit down and also think about, is this a realistic program for what I want to accomplish academically? Of course, you're thinking travel first, but that's not the right thinking. You want to make sure that it's a good fit academically, because why waste the money and the time and the energy in something that won't propel you forward academically? And then realistically, you've got to set a budget for yourself. Don't dream of a $40,000 semester at sea program if you know that you can't afford a $40,000 semester at sea program. I would love to do that too, but it's just not always an option for everyone. So it's one of those things, realize where, your limits are and how can I take those limits and maximize, and maybe it's scholarships. Maybe it's, I'm going to start small with a faculty-led program that I know I can save for, and then I'm going to do a semester program, and then maybe I might do another semester program. Lots of different opportunities. When you're ready, come and meet with me. I usually live over in this beautiful new building, the extended learning building, on the 5th floor. So for now, you can see my cheery face in Zoom. So you can always make an appointment with me through our Calendly system. I'm trying to transition to booking, so we'll see if this works. But either way, you can find me through studyabroad@csusm.edu. Send me a quick email, and I'm happy to connect with you always, for sure. So I'm going to stop my share for now and ask any questions that you have. I don't want to, go too much longer into my other friend's time here, but let me know.
Yeah, I don't see any other questions in the chat, so I'll go ahead and transition to Josh. And if you want to just stick around for an extra few minutes and monitor the chat and see if anybody asks questions in there, either directly to you or just generally, that might be a helpful option as well. Thanks so much, Tiffany. All right, Josh, take it away.
All right, good evening, families. My name is Joshua Ngaliai. I'm here on behalf of the Career Center. I will be talking about our services that we have available, giving you a lens into the staff that we have within the department that really paints the services that we do provide within. I'm going to take a look at the services as well as some events that we have available for the students from the Career Center. And then from there, we're going to transition to Elvia. That's going to touch base, really focusing on the internship portion of the presentation and splashing on service learning. So here's a look at our staff. A lot of photos within there, but as you see at the top left, we have an interim director, some movement within our department. Our director retired last fall, and Greg Simmons is in the interim role, who serves as our employee relations specialist. As an employee relations specialist, what his role is to make connections with the community and sort of create a pipeline for our students in transition into employment opportunities with those organizations. The next 5 individuals that you'll see at the top are our career counselors. And so each of our career counselors do have a liaison role to the different colleges on the campus. Karen Iwasaka and myself serve Chabs as the largest college on the campus. And then we have a single liaison for the 3 remaining colleges. Basically what that liaison role means is that your students will see one of these counselors in the classroom if there are requests for different presentations. We are all generalists. And so, you know, if your student has a good experience with the counselor and prefers to stay with that one, then they can schedule appointments with them or schedule appointments based off of availability, whatever they are comfortable with. But those are the 5 different counselors that we have. Our technology coordinator down at the bottom is Erica Colwell. What she is famous for on our campus is she supports taking these professional pictures that students and faculty and staff can use for their social media platforms. Brenda Dumas is the one that oversees our recruiting and events. So I'll go over some of the events that we have available typically, as well as some that, I'll go over the ones that we have available now, and then some that we will have when we return back to the campus. Monica Gilly is our student services coordinator. She works with the front desk staff as well as training position that we have called career peers. And career peers are really very similar, play a similar role to what career counselors will do. They'll do resume critiques. They will explore majors and careers with students via drop-in sessions. And so I think that that's a great opportunity for those students that are interested in getting into counseling or an academic advising role, or even just working on a college campus. It'll expose them to engaging with students and providing them with feedback and direction on how to maximize their journey here at CSUSM. Elvia is new to the department. She came over at the end of the summer, early fall, and she will touch base on internships and service learning. Jordan Frisk is on loaner to us right now. So with sort of the restructure due to the pandemic, we had some staff members that shifted around. He will be with us, and he supported kind of that role that Greg had before, but we'll be transitioning back to athletics here in the fall. Christina Paramo is our lead front desk student assistant, and she's really the face of our department. So if we have any issues with scheduling appointments or with students having trouble getting access to some of the events, then she would be the one to troubleshoot that. Is also the one that receives the request for presentations coming out into classrooms. So that's really a lens into our staff. We have some other student assistants that do support us as well. And our career peers was a position that was put on hold. But when we return back to campus, we typically have 2 career peers in our area that kind of do those roles that I was talking about before. If you take a look at this visual right here, can anybody take a guess what this is? I see some stuff within the chat.
Sorry, the chat is me.
Oh, okay. Oh, thank you.
And I currently have people set to not be able to unmute themselves, so I can.
Oh, all right. So my apologies.
Feedback. Okay, so you all can now unmute yourselves. So if you would like to give verbal feedback to Josh, but to me it looks like chaos.
Okay, yeah, it is a little bit of chaos. And so what this actually represents is the hiring process. And I feel like this really speaks to our services. So number one is some students have difficulty finding vacancies, looking for jobs. You know, what is the platform that they should use? And we have a platform that we suggest that be the first place in which students look. And so that is called Handshake. Other things that we help students do is we help them how to network. There's a hidden job market, and students struggle to find access to that. And so we kind of will help them, coach them through that. We also help them to have a presence on LinkedIn. And, you know, that's another tool in which they can go out to search for jobs. So once the students are able to find the vacancy, all right, the next thing that they do within the hiring process is they submit documents. And I'm sure all of you know, you probably have went through this process to obtain the position that you are in right now. But some of the documents that they would submit on back would be a resume, a cover letter, a job application, maybe even a curricula vitae, a CV. Okay? And so at times, students find difficulty on articulating themselves within the documents, and we can really help them with that process. We do 2 types of things. We do a resume critique, and then we also do a resume review. With the resume critique, it's kind of, you know, taking a look at how an HR professional might take a look at it for about 7 to 10 seconds. And so what's the format looking? Is there some spelling errors within there? You know, various things that might get them jammed up within the ATS, which is automated tracking system that takes a look at your resume. And sometimes if there is a template, maybe there's color, maybe there's a certain way in which it's submitted, then it might not make it through the ATS. And those are some of the things that we'll coach the students on. From there, then if they stick out with those documents, then they're invited to an interview. I would say over this past year, we've really shifted the information that we're sharing with the interview to align back with the virtual interviews that have taken place. Typically those are happening either through Zoom or through Microsoft Teams. And so our interview workshops has kind of shifted to that over this academic year. From there, what happens after an interview is they'll do background checks. And within the background checks, typically they're going to check their most previous supervisors that they have had. And from there, more and more employers are now starting to utilize social media as a portion of the background check. And so we work on students on ensuring that what they are projecting on out with the documents are consistent with what they are sharing within their social media accounts. So if an employer were to go search for them, that they would feel comfortable about what they would find on them. Okay. After the background check, then what we hope will be the next stage in the process is that they will get offered the job, right? That is ideal. That is what we are all sending our students to school for, in addition to learning, right, is getting them access to these different careers, hopefully. If not, I'm biased, and I feel like, that is a key reason why we are bringing them to school. From there, though, some students may feel like the offer that they get doesn't really align with the value that they may be bringing to that position. So we do have workshops on negotiating salaries. And we have a workshop on that's about 2 hours that really walks through, living location, being able to articulate themselves within a phone conversation, maybe through a written document on justifying why they think that they warrant additional salary amongst what they have been offered and what are the strategies and techniques for that. Okay. So yeah, that's a visual right there. And that really speaks to the services that we do have. I'm really going to take a focus on our career counseling. Okay. So within our career counseling sessions, we have 30-minute appointments and we have hour-long appointments. We have drop-in sessions once we return back to the campus, but as of right now, we have the 30-minute and hour-long sessions. Within those, they can request a variety of these different areas. So major and career exploration. So say, for example, you have a student that's coming on in, they selected a major because that's just the classes that they like to take. So part of what we do is we kind of explore that with them. All right, so what are your interests? How does it relate to some of the careers that exist out there? Maybe they might not even be knowledgeable about careers that align back. And we have different platforms that we tend to take them to. One of the ones that I like to utilize is, what can I do with this major? Also on our campus, what I feel like is very beneficial is that we've reached out to all of the different colleges, majors, and for the majority of them, you can go on to the website and see majors and career search. Within that tab, there are position titles that align back with the different majors, okay? So we do major and career exploration within that. We also do the resume and cover letter critiques within our counseling sessions. I think that it is most valuable when students come on in with a specific position title that they are trying to align those documents with. Oftentimes we have students that will come in there and say, hey, I just want a generic resume that I plan on sending out. I personally feel like that's a horrible strategy, that we're sending that one single generic resume out to 500 different opportunities. We will probably get 0 responses back from that. And so, really teaching them how to tailor, how to address the tracking software, and then also ensure that their document aligns back with the job description that they're applying for. We do mock interviews, and within the mock interviews, we have a list of frequently asked questions that we provide to the students. If they give us the position title that they are applying for and some time in advance, then we will grab tailored questions that align back with that specific opportunity. If they're going into accounting, financial planning, computer science, whatever it is, then we'll research the job position and have some frequently asked questions as it relates back to those themes. We record those so that they can see the way in which they're acting, the pace of their voice, their body language, also so they can, if they need feedback on how to dress, then we can provide them with that feedback as well. We have a variety of different assessments available within the Career Center. I would say that our top 3 that we share on out, number 1 is the MBTI, which takes a look at the different personality types. There is a 4-letter combo that will come on out. And with that, it also generates position titles for them to look at. We do strengths, which captures 34 different strengths and lets the students know that, hey, based upon your results, these are your 5 top strengths. And we work with them to use that within interview sessions, also on how to work with team members. And then the other one that we have is the strong interest inventory that talks about, things that they like to do and maybe some careers that would use those different types of styles. Maybe they are entrepreneurs, or they like to work with people, or they like to look at data. Then it'll generate careers that align back with that. What I would say though is that some students have came to us with the hopes that the assessment will be the end all be all. The assessment is really something to consider, something to help you really reflect upon careers. But just because it says that you should be a firefighter, doesn't mean that we put all of our eggs into that basket. It's part of the process that we use to with the students. We talk about networking strategies. So how can we maximize LinkedIn? How can we maximize Handshake to really get connected to employers and have on the opposite end, maybe employers reach out to us. And we do graduate school research and prep. We're definitely not admissions officers, in which sometimes students come to us and expect that we have all the answers for every program that exists out there. The ways in which we support graduate school is that we help them to become familiar with the timelines in which they need to submit their applications. We'll help them with articulating themselves, both within their documents and within their interviews. If they're going into a cohort, then they're probably going to be involved in these group interviews, and we provide them with feedback on that as well. We also help them to generate personal statements. So we are one of 2 departments that can support students with generating personal statements for graduate school. It would be us, as well as the Writing Center, which may have been one of the resources that has been shared with you in the past. We are also present with first-year students. I think over 90% of our students at the campus take a class called GEL 101. I know Christiana has taught that before. I teach that as well. But the Career Center gets a 1-week portion of that class to kind of come in there, talk about our services, and to make the connection on things that they should be considering now throughout their graduation time at the campus. Question? Take a look at that. Oh, okay. Thank you.
Sorry, just me posting
You got all of my presentations, for real. You're very helpful. All right. So Handshake. Handshake is the platform that I talked about. I'm going to take you over to Handshake and just kind of give you a visual of it real quick. But Handshake is the platform that we use. We've used a couple of different CSOs since I've been here. Grad Leaders was what we had used before. But Handshake is the #1 platform in which employers are going to find entry-level workers, okay? To find entry-level workers. And so that's why we made the transition there. There are thousands of other universities and colleges that are on there. It provides students with the opportunity to network with employers that have reached out to those other organizations, as well as students at the other organizations, which is very valuable. So, I was going through and I had interest in, I was walking through ESPN, when I was growing up. And then you can go in there and look up, who are the other students that have done internships, maybe at ESPN, or have graduated and out working over there. So it's a great platform to network. That is also where you will go to register for our events. I think that when we were on campus, students could pass by an event at the union, or maybe hear about an event at the class and just kind of stroll up on it during university hour or later on in the day. A large portion of our events does require you to register for it now. And in order to register for the events, they would go to Handshake for that. I had mentioned something about resume critiques. And so resume critiques is really like a real quick snapshot, us giving feedback on that. They can request a resume critique through Handshake, and the turnaround time for that is about a week. Another thing that they can access on Handshake would be the ability to look at jobs, okay? So I'm gonna stop sharing here real quick, and I'm gonna bring up my Handshake account. Okay, so I just created a generic one just so we can kind of walk students through. But here's a look at my profile. Okay, so if you take a look at the profile, it's very similar to what you might see on a LinkedIn, like the summary statement that you would see, the education, volunteers, some of the organizations that they could be a part of, a place for you to put your courses, maybe even some of the projects that you've worked on. You can upload your resume down here. Then you can provide employers with feedback on what are the roles that you are looking for, what are the industries that you're interested in, and locations that you're interested in working. Because I will tell you, if you attend one of our events and you make a strong connection back with one of our employers, the next place that they're going to go is to your Handshake account. Okay, so you want to make sure that your Handshake account is up to date. Another thing about Handshake is that you see my file is at 100% complete. For individuals that have completed their profile at 100%, 80% of those students that have completed at 100% have gotten reached out to from employers. So not only can you reach out to others, then you can expect them to start reaching out to you via this platform. This is where you can go to look for jobs. And so you can narrow down the searches, location, what types of employment opportunities that you are looking at, and you can apply for some of these within here. You can click in there to find out opportunities. If we had alumni that worked there, and you can see, their reviews of those experiences. You come up here, this is where you would find the events that we have coming up on campus. And I will tell you that now that y'all are students on the campus, we do have an event this weekend. So if you need some professional attire, this event is open up to family members. It's called our JC Suit Up event. And whatever sale that they have going on at the moment, then you will get an additional 30% off. So for example, if they've got 75% off of some shoes, you can get an additional 30% off. It has to be professional attire. You can't buy Nike gear. It has to be attire for you to use it towards a career. All right. But so have your students sign up for the event. Even if you need professional attire for yourself, it is open to students and families. This is where the students can go to find other students, all right, that they might want to network with. This is where you can put in the different majors or employers within there. Like I said, I looked up ESPN, could put in a variety of areas within there. Okay, so that's Handshake right there within the Career Center. This is where you would go to request your appointments. We have resources available within here. On the resources, we have templates for resumes as well as cover letters. Our surveys are in here because we want feedback from y'all. We want to make sure that, hey, if there are if there are things that will support your career development, we want to make sure that we're bringing those. If there are interests in certain careers, we have panels, and we want to make sure that those panels align back with the careers that students are interested in. This is where they will be able to provide feedback. Also within their counseling sessions with a counselor, they can provide us with feedback as well. Go back to sharing my screen.
Hey, Josh, I want to pause you for a very good question in the chat.
Sounds good.
Should the students visit the Career Center when they are juniors or seniors?
I would say they should visit them as freshmen. Okay, so I don't think that it would hurt for them to visit every year. Like I said, I'm biased, but I feel like, hey, we should be making momentum towards a career. If you are expecting your students to just go to class and that a professor is going to reflect upon a career, I would tell you that is probably not likely to happen. They are looking at ensuring that you understand the learning outcomes and the theories within the classroom. Oftentimes, a lot of times, they're not connecting that back to careers. And I think that that is the primary conversation that we are having with students. And so if they are knowledgeable about a career, or if they are not knowledgeable about what they want to do at all, I would suggest that they just schedule an appointment to connect, even at the minimum, so that they can hear the same conversation that I'm sharing with you today on what would be the most valuable resources for them as they are navigating through. Okay? But yes, as freshmen, I think that they should come on in. Here are some of the events that we have. So we have job fairs. Our job fairs have been virtually. They've proven to be successful. There was a stat that was shared with us at our meeting on Monday in regards to our job fair that we had last week. There was something like 300 something connections with employers through that job fair. And so when I talk about the hidden job market, there's a lot of times things that are not advertised that you can access through conversations. And that is a great place for you to start to meet folks, is at our job fairs. We have large job fairs, and then we also have focus job fairs where we might have some for STEM majors. We might have some for teachers. We had one for social justice careers. And so we have the large ones, and then we also have focus ones. Our workshops are tailored around, that hiring process visual that I shared back with you, everything from looking for jobs, networking to salary negotiation are the workshops that we have. The Suit Up event I shared with you is coming up this weekend. Our panels, we have different themes that we have coming on in. And so that can either be themes that align back with what students have shared, or if our counselors have been asked about, careers that maybe we're not knowledgeable about, then at least that's what I use the panels for, to learn more about those careers and share that information back with students. So say, for example, physician assistant was a career that was on the rise a couple of years ago. And, I was very knowledgeable about medical school, but we had these questions about physician assistants. So we had a panel on that. We had a panel that included 2 physician assistants, a doctor, as well as an admissions officer into the school, which was very beneficial for students. We've had one for folks that wanted to get into media, folks that wanted to work in careers with sports. The one that I had this semester took a look at city jobs, because I felt like that was a trend that was coming on up. How can I get a city job? How can I get a government job? So we had the city of Escondido, Oceanside, and Carlsbad that came out and talked to students about, what have been some of the changes within the careers that they have had within the city. What does the interview process look like, and proved to be very valuable for students. That last one that I have on there, the etiquette dinner, that is one that we have not done since the pandemic. We were scheduled to have one like right before we left the campus within March last year. But as soon as we return back, we will have an etiquette dinner in the fall and spring. It's one of our popular events. And the reason why we have that is because we talk to students about how can we be strategic when we are at a meal, because a lot of times, I would tell you I'm on a lot of search processes at the campus. I've been here 15 years, been on a lot of different search committees, and the higher the level of the position will typically include a meal. Okay, we can find out a lot about folks at the meal. And so we want to inform students, hey, what are the questions that we should be asking? What are the things that maybe we shouldn't be talking about? All the way down to, passing the salt and pepper at the same time. What are the utensils that we'll be using? If we're eating soup, if we're buttering our bread, it's very detailed. And it's one of our former directors from the Career Center that facilitates that dialogue. So those are some of the events that we have, our services. This was the advertisement for our career fair that happened last week. The reason why I have this, though, is an image down here at the bottom right, which is our Cougar Career Closet. I think that is one of the most valuable resources that we have within the Career Center. That was a resource that was brought to us from the Latino Business Student Association, one of our student organizations. And then we absorbed it about 2 years ago now. It started off as one closet. Now we have 3 rooms and a storage room filled with clothes. And we get donations from a variety of different areas. I would say shout out to our College of Business. The majority of our donations come from the partners that they have established. But we have donated items. A lot of our items are brand new that are in there as well. We throw away a lot of items. And students can get 4 free items a semester, and free of cost, and with the hopes that they utilize it towards a career. Okay, and I think that brings me to Elvia's portion. She's going to focus on internships.
Yes, so I'm going to go ahead and just dive right into academic internships. And one thing that I always tell everybody, whether it be students or faculty or even our partners, is that all this information is on our website. So it can be quite a bit. As you notice, we love to give information. It's good to know. So just letting you know, it's on our website. And if you have any questions, you're also more than welcome to reach out to me. But I'm just gonna really, talk about like what are academic internships, because there's a lot of misconceptions about what an internship is, and every university does it differently. So here at CSUSM, we define an academic internship as an approved and supervised work experience that meets specific learning goals related to the academic field of study. So essentially, we want to make sure that it matches to what the student is learning in their classroom. It usually does require that the student get permission from either a faculty or an advisor as they're going in and trying to find an internship. There's usually a minimum number of hours that they have to complete as they're going into their internship. It's usually about 90 hours, and it can go ahead and fluctuate depending on the major. Right now, during COVID, we are still having students who are doing internships, either virtual or in person, and that number has also fluctuated based on, you know, the number of hours they can attain at their internship site. And really, again, just to really emphasize, an internship is the learning experience that the student is gaining as they're going out and doing, you know, these great opportunities, working with local organizations, partners, nonprofits, and businesses. And so this is quite different from, you know, a job where sometimes you know, if a student may be employed at a company, they have a part-time job, and they're getting paid to go in, right? They go in and they get paid to do a specific amount of work. And that work, again, may not always be relevant to what they want to do down the line. It may not be relevant to the experience that they want to gain, or may not be particularly contributing to their long-term goals. And so, again, being very strategic that an academic internship is going towards kind of a long-term goal, whether it be a specific job or a graduate school program or something down the line. An internship is also distinct from volunteer work in that it really, you know, has to benefit the student. So when we think about volunteering, we're thinking about going into the community. It's you know, it's a reflective process at times. Students can reflect about the type of work that they're doing in the community, who is being impacted, and then working directly with organizations. So an internship can be collaborative. It benefits both the organization and the student, but there really has to be learning outcomes related to that. Another really big question that I get is, well, you know, can an internship be paid or unpaid or both? And it's really a matter of where the student can secure that internship. And so when I, you know, earlier talked about partners, part of what I do is help the facilitation of establishing community partnerships with organizations. Again, these organizations are businesses, both big and small, nonprofits, government. We work with a lot of schools. A lot of our students are the human development sociology major, and so they're looking to work with school-age children and you know, becoming teachers and building curriculums and that sort of thing. So it's really contingent then on the organization to determine whether they have the means to offer paid internship opportunities, and also ensuring that it complies with the U.S. Department of Labor laws. So there are certain guidelines that the U.S. Department of Labor puts out, and they are a little bit fuzzy. There are 6 guidelines that essentially they have to go and they have to assess whether the internship is still benefiting the student, whether the organization is a nonprofit or not. And so what we do here as we're intaking new partnerships is we're assessing, you know, is this an internship that is appropriate for the student, or is it better maybe just appropriate as a job? And then working with those organizations who really are interested in providing the academic internship portion of it. So long story short, it really depends. And it's really helpful. Again, one of the things that Josh talked about is, you know, what does the student want? So, you know, really determining, is getting a paid internship important, or are they really more focused on the experience? And then from there on, we can make a better assessment of where to redirect them and where they can go ahead and start finding these organizations and with who they can do an internship with. So we'll go on to the next slide. And again, just really talking more about, you know, the benefits of doing an internship. So the biggest and probably best takeaway is the networking portion of it. And, you know, again, we're living in a time of it's who you know and who you work with. And so having that, you know, network and building those connections is so important. We always tell students, you never know if you know, who may be employing you after the internship. Some internships do lead to long-term employment. So, you know, knowing who you're working with, or even if it's a short-term type of internship, and gaining references having references for future jobs down the line, for graduate school, someone to be able to attest to the work that the student has been able to do. Again, really taking everything that the student has learned in the course and applying it to the workforce. So at school, we talk so much about theories and models. It can get very abstract. So being able to, think about these things that students are learning and then being able to see them come into effect is just so valuable, and for them to really, again, make those connections between what they're learning in their classroom and then what is happening in the real world. And really gaining industry knowledge and the real world experience. So times are changing. We're telling students, we're doing everything virtual now. We're something that we didn't expect a year ago. But being able to know more about how the career and job market is changing and how to adapt to that, again, is really, really important. And many times, we attest to the fact that students may have an idea of what it's like to work maybe with children. And I personally have helped a student who said, I did an internship and I just realized I don't like children. And I said, great, that's a perfect example of what an internship is, because at the end of the day, you're realizing what you do like as much as what you don't like. So it really provides that redirection. And then really importantly as well, and just an increase of interpersonal and what we're calling essential skills. So those soft skills, and ensuring that students can work with a diverse amount of people. We're talking a lot about diversity. It's really at the forefront of being able to have these conversations and being able to communicate our very different opinions and doing it in a very professional manner. Also, everything from how to write a proper email and how to have certain conversations with colleagues or with supervisors. So they're learning this along the lines, and really using it as experiential experience for their professional development. And I was also asked to touch a little bit on service learning, which is again a little different from internships, in that it's not really is available in terms of someone can just do a service learning opportunity. So if a student is interested in doing a service learning opportunity, they will have to find a class that is appropriate for them. But essentially, all service learning is community based, so just community service. And again, it provides more of that kind of how the student is serving in the community, who is the type of organizations that they can work with. And it's really more of a reflective process for the student to be able to consider how they're making an impact in the community. And this is not always tied to their major. So you could have a computer science student who is enrolled in this service learning class, and they're talking about civics, and they're working with the city of San Marcos to discuss maybe a proposal, and they're putting in input about what that may look like and how they may impact certain communities or so. And so service learning is a little bit changing as well during our restructure. We kind of trailed off in a little bit of a different way, but I think they're having a lot of really good opportunities to expand and really being able to offer it to even more students and even more instructors. So if you are interested, or you think your student may be interested in service learning, sure to contact them. Rochelle Smar is the director, and she's actually writing her dissertation on the whole concept of service learning. So this is just an amazing place for it where it is right now. And that is pretty much it. So again, just really talking about our information is all on our website. So if you have any questions, if your student has any questions about where to start, it is an extensive process in the sense of, again, it's all about planning. So we really advise that if your student is thinking about an internship, to start as soon as they have that thought, and we can go ahead and sit down with them and talk more about what that will look like weeks, months, and semester down the road, because there is additional paperwork. There's the university side does require information to be collected from the internship site in terms of safety. So we are essentially telling students, go and do an internship, but we also want to make sure that it isn't a safe and appropriate internship for them. So, that's the biggest takeaway as well is just, as if they're at least thinking about it, then send them over to me and, we'll get them squared away, give them all the information that they need.
Great, thank you. Alrighty, I'm going to go ahead and conclude our recording for the